Hi, everybody. For this project, I read the book Path of a Peacemaker by Brian Noble, your biblical guide to healthy relationships, conflict resolution, and a life of peace. I chose this book and this topic because, number one, faith is something very important to me, but I also recognize that I needed some basic tools for conflict resolution, despite the fact that I am also a believer. The information in this book was super helpful for just everyday life. And one of my favorite quotes is from licensed counselor Deborah Fileta. And she says, just because you're Christian doesn't mean you're healthy. And this absolutely resonated with me because I realized just because I'm a believer doesn't mean I'm automatically healthy, and it doesn't mean I automatically know how to have healthy relationships or healthy conflict resolution. So I wanted to learn more about just some basic tools to help me achieve conflict resolution, and also to approach it from a biblical perspective. The first part of this book talks about tension, and tension is something that we can all relate to. Tension is defined as being stretched or strained. And there are three types of tension: properly utilized, improperly utilized, and irrelevant. Properly utilized tension is, think of it like a rubber band. Properly utilized tension can be helpful, and so you can use a rubber band to hold things together. Improperly utilized tension can be dangerous or harmful. So that could be using that rubber band as a slingshot to hit somebody else in the face. That hurts, and that's not what we want to be doing with tension. And then the third one is irrelevant tension. So that's the rubber band that sits on the counter unused. And yes, it doesn't hurt anything, but it's also missed opportunity and missed potential to use it for something beneficial. Examples of tension, there are so many. This is just a list, but motivational tension. So this could be positive or negative. This could be used to change your behavior for better or for worse. Relational tension, marital tension, parenting and sibling. Yes, spiritual tension and church tension are also very real things. We're all human, and if we are operating in the midst of each other, there's going to be tension, and that can be used to create conflict, or it can be used to bring people together and grow in maturity. Financial tension is a huge one, especially in marriages. Financial tension can cause a lot of arguments if parties are not on the same page, or if resources are short. Workplace tension, I think we can all relate to that as we're working with people with different characters, personalities, and work ethics. And then self-tension. And this is something I'll touch on a little bit later from my personal example, but we can definitely have tension within ourselves for various reasons. So we will get back to that. But I wanted to leave you with a quote. Tension can pull us away from things that matter or push us towards those very things. So again, it can be used for positive or for negative. It all just depends on how we utilize it. All right, the path of a peacemaker diagram. So this is the diagram that Brian Noble talks about in the book. And the first part is story. So this is just that circle. And this is the background story. So what has led to the conflict, or what has created the conflict or the tension? Step 2 is ascend. That is the straight up line. And for the purposes of the book review, this does have to do with faith. So this is seeking the Lord. This is looking to him for help, and remembering that he is our help in times of trouble and in times of tension and conflict. And when we go to him, we're able to see our conflict and our tension from his perspective rather than our own limited perspective. And this is all about going back to what do you believe? What do you believe to be true about God? What do you believe to be true about who he says you are and who he says others are. And then step 3 is reflect. This is the downward diagonal line. This is connecting the dots. So what have you done to contribute to the conflict, or what underlying fears or misperceptions or false beliefs have led to the conflict or the tension you're experiencing? And then step 4 is connect. And this is reconnecting to others. And you could even say reconnecting to yourself or the Lord. And the purpose of this one is re-aiming towards productive conversations and aiming towards forgiveness. And we don't always reach forgiveness. Conflicts are not always resolved, but that is the hope and the goal. I wanted to compare the processes of the book, which is the SARC or SARC model, and then this STAR narrative that we've been using in the course. And there are a lot of similarities, but there's also some differences. The first part in STAR is situation, describe the setting. That is basically the same as story, just looking at the background story, describe what happened. Part 2, tasks, what each party is responsible for. And that is really similar to reflect in the SARC model, which is what did you contribute to the conflict and what did others contribute? And then we look at ascend, which is part 2 in the SARC model, and that's all about looking up, getting a new perspective, checking your beliefs, your perceptions, making sure those are correct and adjusting if necessary. And then part 3 in the STAR model is what actually happened. So again, that kind of reminds me of story and reflect in the SARC model on the other side. So they are kind of a little bit scrambled as far as order, but there are those similarities. And then the last part is very similar. Results was the outcome of the relationship or the situation, and reflect. So, or not reflect, excuse me, connect, connecting to others. What happened? Did you reconcile? Did you connect with them again? Did you reach forgiveness? Okay, time to go back to self-tension. This is my concrete example, and this is my personal example of self-tension and perfectionism. And I wanted to break that down for you using the SARC model. So from my personal story, the background story, for the longest time, and I still struggle with this often, is this want to do things perfectly, or this subconscious feeling that I need to be doing things perfectly. And this creates a lot of tension and stress and worry in my life. And part 2, ascend, looking from a new perspective. So I learned a long time ago, I can't be perfect. I am incapable of being perfect. The Lord doesn't require me to be perfect. I'm a human being. We are all humans, and He is the only one who can be perfect and satisfy that need for perfection. But like I said, we're human, and we can't, and we shouldn't expect that of ourselves. Reflect, connecting the dots. So this failed perception and belief that I should be perfect or have the ability to be perfect was creating a lot of tension in myself, and this would just show up in worry and stress and anxiety. And I realized, hey, I am not supposed to be perfect. I can't be perfect. So I'm going to stop trying to be perfect, and I'm just going to do my best. And last part, connect, reconnecting to others, but also connecting to yourself and to the Lord. When I took the need to be perfect out of the picture, when I took that pressure off of myself and my relationships and even others, it reduced my stress tremendously, and it gave me the freedom to just do my best and not feel like I'm constantly being measured against an impossible goal. And this relieved a lot of tension for me. I wanted to leave you guys with this quote from the book. There's power and clarity in people's stories. And if we'll just listen to those stories and to our own, we'll be better equipped to find what most of us are ultimately seeking. reconciliation, peace, and contentment. So that is just a little food for thought to leave you guys with. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening. I will go over my references. The first one is a book called Love, Acceptance, and Forgiveness. And this is about conflict resolution in and outside of the church setting. The second one is Deborah Faleda's book, Are You Really Okay? Getting Real About How You're doing, who you are, how you're doing, and why it matters. And this is where I got that quote, just because you're Christian doesn't mean you're healthy. This is such a great book, Christian or non-Christian, for just a great perspective on reflecting on yourself, conflict resolution, and relationships. And then the last one is The Path of a Peacemaker, which is the book that I talked about today, Your Biblical Guide to Healthy Relationships, Conflict Resolution, and a Life of Peace. Altogether, I think this was a great book for believers and non-believers alike, just giving some basic tools for conflict resolution. And I think everyone can relate to tension, so anyone can relate to this book. It was great. Thank you so much for listening today, and I hope that you had some good takeaways. Thank you.